My stay-at-home dad husband will not keep the kids for an hour when I'm home because he says it's not his responsibility to give me a break, so I checked out of our marriage. I have a full-time job, usually working between 50 to 60 hours a week. My job is not stressful physically, but I'm a high-end manager, so I have a lot of responsibility on my shoulders, and it takes a toll on me. At the beginning of lockdown, my husband stopped working to care for our then 5-month-old and limit his exposure. At the time, we could make it work and knew it was a temporary struggle. When we became pregnant with our second in 2021, I told him I needed him to return to work. Since then, there has always been a reason why he could not, usually boiled down to the kids. He's miserable at home, and I've been begging him to go back to work, even if I need to change my working hours or work remotely more often than I do to accommodate a second shift job for him, that it would help our financial situation and he'd feel better, but there is always a reason why he can't. I work a minimum of 50 hours a week in the office and probably 5 to 10 at home sporadically through night and weekends, but I do my very best to take some of the burden off of him when I get home. I immediately take over with the kids, we play, I make dinner, I handle the bedtime routine, and I get everyone up and fed before I return to work the next day. I'm not perfect by any means and have much to work on, but I try my best. A lot of weekends, James and the kids want to go out and do something as a family, and even though I am far too tired, I usually try to push through for the kids' sake. I battle severe depression, and I've been in a low lately that I believe is caused by burnout. Last weekend it was the anniversary of my mother's passing, and I was feeling a little extra emotional. I was at the end of my rope after work called me asking for help and both kids were throwing separate fits. I snapped. I told James that I just needed an hour where I'm not needed, not as an employee, mom, wife, anything. Whether to play a video game or scroll my phone or take a shower where someone isn't jumping in with me, all I asked for was an hour. James responded to me that it was not his responsibility to give me a break, and I needed to figure that out for myself. I was taken aback and a little offended by this, because I feel like a partnership we should be helping one another, and not figuring it out for ourselves. He responded with, "I'm trying to teach you, no one is just going to give you what you want." Later that evening, my grandmother called to reminisce about my mom, and I was crying. James then told me he hadn't realized what day it was and apologized, so I thought that was that. Fast forward to yesterday. I was called into work for an 11-hour shift on Saturday, so I got a one-day weekend. I wasn't in a much better headspace, and my tipping point started by asking James to go to the store to get diapers before the kids woke up. He refused to get up, putting the responsibility on me, and then proceeding to spend 5 hours nonstop sorting through his Magic, the Gathering collection. Sunday is usually our big cleaning day, and I was a bit fed up doing the cleaning and keeping the kids entertained alone. I know it is such a small thing, but in my overstressed and depressed mindset, it was enough to snap a little. I once again asked for an hour, and he once again told me that wasn't his responsibility. I told him he was wrong this time. He then snapped back at me that he's always with the kids and he never gets a break. He called me selfish for asking. I told him about going through his cards for the entire day, and he said that's work and not a break. I then mentioned that every day when I get home, the kids are watching TV and he's playing video games. I have no idea how long he plays before I get home, but I know he continues until I have dinner ready. He said that isn't a break because he doesn't even like video games. I don't know what to do. I don't know if I'm being unreasonable. I feel crazy because I feel like I'm not asking too much. All I know is I'm so tired of feeling this way. Update. It hasn't gotten better, but I've come to a realization that I've been checked out for a while, and the fights and problems he and I have don't bother me like they used to. I have actual dreams about leaving him, and I want to. I, however, feel trapped. We have 2 cars, both in his name as gifts from his mother. I pay the insurance and tags on my car, a 2016 with 250k miles on it that he ran into the ground driving for Uber for 2 years before COVID, but I have absolutely refused to pay for his newer 2020 car that I begged his mother not to get because I knew I would be stuck with the payments. So both cars are technically his. When we bought our house, it was under a false promise. His mom offered to watch the kids when she retired so James could return to work. This did not happen. She also co-signed for the home with my husband so we could get a better rate. So I also have no ownership of our house. I don't have anywhere to go. My dad has a small basement I could rent, but it adds over 30 minutes to my commute and I do not know what I would do for childcare, other than being unhelpful. He has shoved me, been romantic with me while I slept, and constantly gaslighted me. I'm over it, but I feel stuck. I know it's unhealthy, but to cope, I'll usually have a couple, 2 to 3, beers before bed, and he constantly berates me for being an alcoholic. There's probably more that I'm forgetting, but I'm just emotionally tired and unsure what to do. Update 2. I told him I wanted a divorce. I told him I was done. It obviously didn't go well, and he's trying his usual manipulative tactics of crying and taking steps to change, setting up a psychiatrist appointment to switch his medication, having a job interview lined up, etc. It is very hard and against my nature to not cave now that he's suddenly trying, but I'm staying strong. I'm reminding myself that this has happened before. I'm going to my dad's this weekend so he can see his grandkids, but he just got divorced a few months back, so I plan to talk to him about options and what I need to know. I'm scared as hell because I don't know what I'm going to do about the car, place to stay, kids, etc. But when I told him I thought him trying to have sexual relations with me while I slept because I couldn't say no, was grape. and he continued to do it anyway. Or when he went to a club with his friends and expected a pat on the back from me and all of my friends because he didn't get a blow from one of the girls. Or when he started nonchalantly telling people that he shoved me backward onto the couch or on the bed mid-argument to my friends like it was normal. These are the things I'm reminding myself to stay strong during. We live in a 3-bedroom home, so I've made him move into the guest room while I get my ducks in a row.